there is a myth out there that, when I was a personal trainer many years ago, we used to teach people that for each pound of muscle that you have on your body, it burns an extra 50 calories per day. And so if you were to gain 10 pounds of muscle, you burn an extra 500 calories a day. Since then, there's been research that has tested that and shown that it's not that, it's more like 7 to 13. You could round it off to
So
10.
disappointing, right?
Right, super disappointing. Yeah, because especially because gaining 10 pounds of muscle is not that easy. Unless you're, a big person and you're new to training. But
Yeah.
it's 10 calories at rest per day per pound of muscle. So even if you were to gain 10 pounds of muscle, it's in the neighborhood of, 100 extra calories per day. It's not that meaningful. And so that's the story of, how this has been talked about in the past. It's sort of this calories in, calories out model. Here's how many extra calories you were to burn at rest if you add this much muscle mass. What you're saying is, no, there's all these layers in addition to that. But can you talk about, kind of help people understand this story of why it's more than calories and how that affects your body composition?
Absolutely. I only highlighted that and I talked about that in Forever Strong because I think it's important to highlight some of the myths because often when we hear something repeated over and over again, whether it's accurate or not, we believe it to be true. And if we are going to have a clear, transparent conversation, the goals and endpoints that we are searching for need to be tightened up. And we need to have a conversation of what I believe to be very meaningful. It is amazing to put on muscle. Is it your most metabolically active organ system? No. Does it weigh a lot? So does it contribute? Yes, but collectively, all your organs contribute. The brain, which is a lot smaller, contributes somewhat 25% of resting energy metabolism. So muscle overall is not a huge contributor to resting energy metabolism. It's not that active at rest. It primarily burns free fatty acids. The magic about muscle is different. The magic of muscle is when you train it, you make your mitochondria more efficient. When you train it, you expend energy, calories. When you train it, you release these myokines. Depending on the kind of activity that you do, there is somewhat of a metabolic revving up over time. There's all these other aspects that become more meaningful than thinking about sedentary skeletal muscle, which, quite frankly, as you pointed out, is not that impressive. But training and having skeletal muscle becomes your body's armor. The other aspect about skeletal muscle is this thermic effect of food or thermic effect of feeding. Calories all require a certain amount of calories from the macronutrient carbohydrate, fat, and protein take different amount of energy to metabolize. For example, fat, if you eat 100 grams of fat, it might take, I don't know, 3% of that calories to even metabolize that. So it's not much. You're getting the majority of fat. Carbohydrates could be anywhere upwards from 10%, maybe a little bit higher. So if you eat 100 grams of carbohydrates, you might get 100 calories of carbohydrates, you might see 90% of that. Not super efficient. Dietary protein, if you ate 100 grams of dietary protein, the literature indicate anywhere from could be upwards of 30 some percent. I like to think about it as 20 to 25%. So if you are eating 100 calories of protein, you might only, quote, see 80 calories. It takes more energy when you are bolusing protein appropriately and you trigger some of these metabolic processes like muscle protein synthesis. That's deeply energy expensive. The more muscle mass you have, the more muscle protein synthesis you have, and potentially the higher thermic effect of feeding will be.